Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore.
You know that I'm 900 years old, right?
This I do know, and I can confirm.
And this is the first
and I'm
time.
not far behind you.
And I apologize to Dave Stubbs. This is the first time I've been on his Twitter account. It's magical.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, he's ranking the top 10 Habs Stanley Cup champions. There's all sorts of history. There's a shot of Ken Dryden with his Conn Smythe trophy back in the early 70s. He's wearing a suit that could only be from the early 70s.
Yep.
This is just outstanding. Dave Stubbs joins us now from NHL.com. Game 1, Habs and Lightning tonight in Tampa Bay. Dave, thanks so much for doing this. How are you, sir?
Hey, good. Everything is fine, thanks. Yeah, I think a rainbow exploded and landed on Ken's jacket.
Oh my gosh, it is just magical. Who is the greatest Stanley Cup champion? The 24 Stanley Cup champions they've had. Who is the greatest Montreal Stanley Cup champion?
There are just so many. I mean, it's a mug's game trying to decide.
Yes.
I mean, what the best team is. I mean, you can't compare eras. You can't compare teams as you go. You look at the 56-60 Canadiens that won 5 championships in a row. They had 12 players, the same coach and the same general manager on all 5 of those teams. I mean, that does not happen today in the salary cap era. It just would never happen. So, those teams, the 1960 team was absolutely phenomenal. That would have been Rockets' last Stanley Cup championship. That would have been the 5th Stanley Cup championship in a row for his brother Henri, who joined the team in '56. And the gag about that is that Henri was so quiet, and I guess an English reporter went into the Canadiens' dressing room at some point and went to Toe Blake, the coach, and said, "Does Henri speak English, or does he speak French?" And Blake said, "I don't even know if he speaks English or French. I've never heard the man talk." So, you go back through those teams, and then you look at the Canadiens' dynasty from '76 to '79. You look at their quiet dynasty in the '60s when they won 4 cups in 5 years, interrupted only by the Toronto Maple Leafs of '67. So there are many, many, many great champions that go back through the years. But in Montreal today, I mean, like everybody predicted, these guys are going to be playing hockey in July. This is just ridiculous, but it's great fun for sure. And the fan base, needless to say, is very energized in Montreal.
You followed and covered that team for a long, long time, as people can tell. Dave, who would you compare Cole Caufield to? He's something special.
Yvan Cournoyer. And Scotty Bowman, I will defer to Scotty Bowman. Scotty, I was talking to him the other day, and he suggested that Cournoyer was the kind of guy who could, when he got the puck, he just had speed to burn, and he very seldom missed his chances. And the creativity that Caufield shows is amazing. I mean, you got to figure. I mean, look at the upside of this kid. I mean, he arrived, he played a handful of games in the regular season, played his year in college, comes in. Everybody's excited about how good he's possibly going to be, and if there is any sense of pressure at all in this kid, you just don't see it. And Scotty was laughing. He said, we used to talk in our days about guys who would squeeze the stick so hard the sawdust would pop out, but with composites today, that's never going to happen. So you look at Caufield, you just look at the way he moves the puck, you look at the creativity, you just look at how much fun he's having out there. I would think that Cole Caufield and Yvan Cournoyer would be a pretty good comparable. Cole has to win 10 Stanley Cups to catch up to the Roadrunner, but he's quite a talent for sure.
Hey, Dave, a lot of BC Vancouver connections with the Montreal Canadiens. Price and Weber from BC, Gallagher played for the Vancouver Giants, Toffoli, Vancouver Canuck, former Alexander Burrows. For me, to you, is about Burrows. How has he came in a tough situation. Claude, Julien got fired. How has Burrows been behind the bench in your eyes?
He's done a really, really good job with this team. And, you just look at how crazy this year has been for the Canadiens. I mean, they got off to a 7-1-2 start. They're 9-5-4 when Marc Bergevin decides they're not going the direction he wants. So he fires Claude Julien and Kirk Muller, the associate coach. A week later, he fires Stéphane Waite, and I mean, Waite was a guy who, led the Chicago Blackhawks goaltenders to Stanley Cup. So, you look at the changes that have taken place, and now, of course, you've got Luke Richardson. And I was kind of thinking earlier today, what happens? We know how hockey traditions work and superstitions, and you don't mess with a winning lineup. What happens if the Canadiens win both games in Tampa to start this thing? When they come home and Dominique Ducharme is cleared to coach again, does he come in? Do you upset behind the bench? I mean, or do you leave Luke Richardson back there? It's ridiculous. The whole thing is just surreal. But no, Burroughs has done a terrific job, and all of these guys, this team has just bought in, and they're great role players, some stars. They're doing it all up and down. I mean, it starts with Carey Price, of course. I mean, he's been lights out, and look who he's going to be up against. I mean, you can't say goaltenders play against each other. They're 180 feet apart from each other on the ice. But, I mean, Price and Vasilevsky, I mean, flip a coin here. So we'll see. But, there are just so many different things that can happen. And the Canadiens, clearly, there's no question they belong where they are. I mean, obviously, they've been blessed by the fact that we had to realign the NHL this year because of the coronavirus. If this is a conventional season of the Canadiens where they are, you can never say, but I would guess not. But it was Jean Perron who coached the team in 1986 to the Stanley Cup, who had a very good line when he was mentioned. I guess it was mentioned to him, look, this team fell away and this team didn't make it and so on. And he said, look, all we can do is play the team that's in front of us. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's all you can do. I mean, it's not up to you to decide who you're going to play. I mean, when the team is put in front of you, you have to prepare for them, play them, and beat them. And that's what the Canadiens have done so far against Toronto, and then the Jets, and then Vegas.
Hey, Dave, when you look at Toffoli's production, regular season and playoffs, he leads the team in playoff scoring 9th in the NHL. Has he surprised you with how good he has been all season long?
I don't think so. I mean, we knew that he was going to come here with a lot of talent. There was a lot of upside to Tyler Toffoli, and I mean, he's just one of those guys who, he can get the job done. He, like a lot of guys on this team, is creative, and he's been a spark, and he's made everybody who he's played with better. So, no, there's no surprise for me at all. I mean, I don't think there's really been much of a surprise with anybody. I mean, you figured they brought in Corey Perry basically at minimum wage for $750,000. He spent the first 5 games on the taxi squad, and then he finally gets in, and he now, even though he looks like he's been through a meat grinder, he has been one of the absolute leaders on this team. I mean, the leadership that he and Eric Stahl are bringing, they're sitting side by side in the dressing room, and all the young kids are looking over at them, and they're seeing the experience, they're seeing how seasoned these guys are. And they're looking at Shea Weber, who, wears pretty much the look of death every time he opens his eyes. There's just this great sense of poise and a great sense of, okay, we've gotten this far. But you look at the Zoom calls, you watch the Canadiens do all their media that they're doing, and they haven't won anything yet, and every single guy understands that. So we might see a smile from Carey Price if the Canadiens win the Stanley Cup, but the jury's still out on that.
How do you think Claude Julien feels right now, Dave?
I talked to Claude not too long after he had been released, and I said, look, at some point, if you'd like to chat, he said, you know what? He said, the Montreal Canadiens treated me royally. They treated me very, very well. And you look at how the Canadiens rallied to his defense last year during the bubble when he had the cardiac issue. This team they're very much about the people in the organization. So for whatever reason, Marc Bergevin felt that the team wasn't going the direction they wanted. He kept talking about things that he was seeing, little things that were repeating, that were kind of getting a little bit into the grain of the team. I would think that Claude, knowing Claude Julien as I do, is probably very, very, very happy for this team. I mean, he would obviously love to be there, and he'd love to be the guy behind the bench who would be directing traffic there. But I think that he'd be very happy with how this team is going because, he has a lot of respect, a great deal of admiration for the guys on the team. And I'm sure that he is as happy as anybody watching the Canadiens to see where they are right now.
Dave, you know the history of Vancouver when it comes to rioting because of hockey. Is Montreal, which also has a history, and I'm not criticizing Montreal for 1 second because I'm from Vancouver, but is Montreal going to be able to behave itself through this playoff series?
I don't think so. I mean, and I hate to say that. It's funny, the Canadiens were awarded the Clarence S. Campbell Bowl when they defeated the Vegas Golden Knights and advanced. And you want to hear something really surreal. They were awarded, obviously it's the first time they've ever been awarded the Campbell Bowl because it's always gone to the West Conference team, but they were awarded that trophy on the 37th anniversary of the death to the day in Montreal of NHL President Clarence Campbell. Wow. And I've kind of suggested that games in the full playoffs. And then this year, I mean, the fact that the Canadiens won the Clarence Campbell Trophy, fans, I don't want to say they poured out of the Bell Center because there are only 3,500 in there, but there have been massive viewing parties, and I've never understood The idea that you go on a rampage and you trash things,
Yep.
especially now, given, how hard it's been on businesses and people through the pandemic. And the last thing that businesses and restaurants and people like that in downtown Montreal need are windows broken and so on. There was no vandalism. Apparently, there were a few police cars damaged. But the police will be out in strong presence. It's a spectacular day in Montreal today. It's about 40 degrees with a humidex. And there'll be viewing parties, there'll be fans out in the streets. If the Canadiens do well, there'll be fireworks and there'll be some shenanigans, but I'd like to think that it's kept to a minimum and that fans celebrate this team and do it in the right way.
And Dave, very, very quickly, sorry about this, we're keeping you over time here. Do you know about the capacity at Bell Centre for the Stanley Cup Final? Will it be increased?
Well, the Canadiens are hoping that it will be. The entire province of Quebec has gone green today. It's gone to the green zone. So they've increased all kinds of the restrictions. They've loosened a lot of the restrictions here. So I think the Canadiens are working very hard with the government, with the Health Services Department here, trying to see if they can get more fans in there. That said, 3,500 fans have sounded like 10 or 12,000 at least in that building. So the players would love to see more in there. Jeff Molson would love to see more in there. We'll see in the days to come, but the Canadiens don't play here until Friday. So we'll see. It'd be nice to see more fans in the place, but no matter how many are in there, there'll be a very raucous crowd for sure.
I could listen to you all day, and your Twitter account is a must-read. Dave, you have no idea how much you helped us out today. We thank you so much. We'll get you back on the show. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Call anytime, guys. Take care.
We will. Dave Stubbs, NHL.com.